Michaela Chester here, back with Wayne Cavadi, our NCAA.com expert in all things D2 sports. We're going to talk some D2 football today, Wayne. A little bit into the season now. Let's talk some storylines. So far on the season, which teams have not surprised you so far from where you thought they would be starting the season?
Yeah, I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone. If you look at my preseason Power 10 way back in January, you'll see I had both Ferris State and Grand Valley State in the top 5. So the fact that they are both number 1 and number 2 in the country right now shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, right? Obviously, Ferris State is defending its crown as expected. The Bulldogs are outscoring their opponents 170-35. They're heading into GLIAC play. Caleb Murphy is just one of the best defenders I've ever seen since I've started covering D2. Grand Valley State, they're maybe the best resume in all of football right now. They're 5-0 with 3 wins against top 25 teams. Obviously, in a few weeks, they have the matchup against Ferris State, and that will tell us a lot. After that, you got a pair of Rams. You got Shepherd and Angelo State. Both made appearances in that January preseason Power 10, so no surprise that they're up here. For Shepherd, it's the Tyson Bagent, offense, reigning player of the year, and he's doing Tyson Bagent things all over again. And Angelo State, it's kind of fun to see them because it's a new look Lone Star Conference. There's a lot of new teams. But they're really staking their claim after that really big season last year. And then, of course, you have Washita and Harding and even Northwest Missouri State are all still those top 10 teams. And that's kind of just what they do. So there's nothing surprising about those guys either.
So a lot of similar teams in the mix. Any teams that have surprised you?
I think what separates D2 football from other divisions is really that while the top 10 is usually very familiar to everybody else, there's always a ton of surprises, right? We have no idea what's going to happen, and that's what makes the landscape so fun to follow and cover from my standpoint. And, you got Delta State this year that's completely flipping the Gulf South Conference on its head. They're 5-0. They had to do it by opening the season with 4 straight games on the road, and their last 3 games they've beaten an FCS program and then nationally ranked West Florida and Valdosta State 3 games in a row. That's surprising to say the least. You have an Ashland team that's undefeated. They have the top offense and defense in its conference. Both running backs look good. The quarterback looks great. And like I said, they're undefeated. Pittsburgh State, heading into the season, the Gorillas had all the makings of a good team, but they look really tough at 5-0. Of course, by the time you view this, there's a big matchup around the corner with Northwest Missouri State, so they may or may not be undefeated. And if they are undefeated, they're even a bigger surprise than they already are. Then you got a team like Virginia Union, whose running back Jada Byers is having an incredible season, and they're 5-0 for the first time in maybe 2 decades. It's pretty close. So it's a very good start. And then, just some other teams real quick. A team like Benedict, they've already matched their win total from last year. They're 5-0. You got a team like Davenport. Texas A&M Kingsville already matched their win total from last year. Black Hills State just won that big Black Hills, brawl, the oldest rivalry in D2 to get to 5-0. Concord and West Virginia, and lastly Limestone, which has won 4 games from 2019 to 2021. They're currently on a 4-game winning streak. You don't get much more surprising than that.
All right, so we've got a big mix of stuff. All right, I'm going to warm you up to some bigger predictions, Wayne. Let's start with Harlon Hill Trophy candidates. Can you give me a few of those?
Well, if you've been following the Sunday D2 football reports, you know that I've been keeping track of it. The list is probably close to 30 right now. And honestly, at midseason, it's all 30 are probably still viable candidates. But if you're asking for some predictions, by the time they announce the finalists, it's usually 6-7 guys. So I got a few names for you. And it all starts with Tyson Bagent. He's leading D2 in yards passing and yards per game at 356.2. That's just what he does. His receivers are all great. His running back catches passes. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards again, probably with his eyes closed. But there are 2 other quarterbacks you got to watch, and that's McKendree's Tanner Pullen, who has over 1,700 yards passing and 18 touchdowns with just 3 interceptions, and Jaden Johansson from South Dakota Mines. He's a very versatile dual threat type of quarterback. He has almost 1,900 yards combined already and 15 touchdowns. Moving on to running backs, obviously, there are so many good running backs in any level of D2, of football, especially D2. And you have the names that you're used to, like Thero Rice-Darfer and TJ Cole. But 2 I want to watch are Jada Byers, who I already mentioned at Virginia Union. The guy seems like he's a lock for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns a week. And then you Indies, Toriana Clinton. who's just so explosive. He's so Barry Sanders college-esque when he runs, and he could turn a 10-yard loss into a 40-yard gain, and he's just really, really talented. And then just, again, with receivers, I think there's still 9 or 10 on the list. But if you want just a couple names, I think Eastern Oklahoma State's Marquise Gray and Dwayne Brown at IUP, Indiana, PA, are just having sensational seasons. But as you'll see on that weekly list, there's a lot of time left and a lot of names to sort out.
All right, I appreciate you not taking me through all 30 on that one.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's finish off with this, the big stuff. Can you give me your early prediction for the Final Four teams? I mean, what do you think? Is Ferris State back up on top?
I mean, I think that right now it's theirs to lose, but it's the first week of October. This is going to be completely wrong with it. Like I said, there's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of surprise teams. I'm all for it. That's the fun of it. But I do think in Super Region 1, if we're talking about the Final Four, I do think it's still Shepherd's region to lose right now. But Indiana, PA, there's a ton of good talent there. It's not a walk in the park or a guarantee by any means. Super Region 2, who knows? I mean, Gulf South Conference we discussed is all over the place. The South Atlantic, even Newberry has a loss. Lenore Ryan looks really good again. There's just so much going on there. Delta State, we mentioned, is a surprise. It would be a great story, so why not just make that the prediction and see if they can go the rest of the way. Super Region 3 is also wild. Usually it's a conversation about Ferris State, Grand Valley State, Northwest Missouri State, but we said there's the Pittsburgh States and a lot of other schools really making a showing. But like I said, Ferris State hasn't lost a regular season game since 2017. This is their region to lose right now, even though there are teams that make them lose. And then lastly, I think Angelo State is on a mission. They lost last year in that quarterfinal game, the Colorado School of Mines, to go to the Final Four. And they're looking like they're playing with purpose. But Colorado School of Mines can't be overlooked. I'm going to go with Angelo State now. Colorado School of Mines had 2 tough early season losses, but they look very much the part of the Final Four team they were right now.
All right, so your last Final Four teams, Ferris State, go through them all.
Shepherd, Delta State, Angelo State, Ferris State.
All right, we love those predictions. Let's see how it holds up. Wayne Cavadi, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.